Representative Hullum, and please remain standing for the pledge. Gentleman from Harrison.
Thank you, Speaker. On today, the scripture we're going to come from Romans 13:1. All authority comes from God, and those in position of authority have been placed by God. Please pray with me. Dear Lord God, we come to you now, humble as we know how, thanking you for everything, before we can ask you for anything. Please watch over the minds who do the will of the people of this house. God, please pray for the families, the loved ones. Please pray for the ones on the highways and byways. Pray for our soldiers and their families who are abroad right now. Pray for the people who's going through things right now who need you but don't know that they need you. Lord, pray for the widows. Pray for the orphans. Pray for the poor. Lord, pray for the authority and the leadership, not just of this state, but of the municipalities. Lord, continue to watch over us. Continue to guide us. Keep us in your breastplate of armor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Attention, pledge, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
We will have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin, Representative Powell, moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Report of select committees.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Report of standing committees.
We have reports on the calendar, Mr. Speaker.
Introduction of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with the reading of the introductions.
Is there objection? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, we will follow that procedure. Resolutions, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Introduction of guests and visitors. All right. No guests and visitors today. We will go to the calendar. I believe the Chairman of Appropriations has some items. Gentleman from Jackson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, let's go to the in-conference appropriations. In the first order of business, I would like to recommit item number 118, that'd be House Bill 1830. And also I'd like to recommit, well, let's do it one at a time. Let's do that one first.
All right, gentleman's motion on item 1, House Bill 1830 is to recommit. If you favor that motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Okay. Next item, gentlemen.
And let's go to item number 6. Make the same motion. This would be Senate Bill 3058, recommit.
Gentleman's motion is to recommit the conference report on Senate Bill 3058. If you favor that motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Next item, gentlemen.
Okay, let's go to item number 2. This would be House Bill 1949. I recognize the gentleman from Montgomery, the chairman, appropriations, to handle the bill. Next bill.
Gentleman from Montgomery will be recognized to explain the conference report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could call up House Bill 1949, that's item number 2, the conference report on the Department of Finance Administration appropriation for ARPA. Ladies and gentlemen, this is monies that were swept. So for some of you freshman members, we've been doing this over the past 3 years, ARPA funds that have been available to us. This year, we have swept almost a total of $155 million and dispersed it to various agencies as we have done in the past, over the past 2 or 3 years. This particular appropriation, again, is to the Department of Finance Administration for ARPA eligible funds in the amount of $600 million. And that's an explanation of the conference report. Mr. Speaker, I yield for any questions.
Questions on this report? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
First of all, Mr. Speaker, we could barely hear. But second of all, I don't have my copy of the conference report. Can the gentleman, do you mind explaining it a little louder and once again, Mr. Chairman, so we can hear?
Certainly, lady. So this is the appropriations for the Department of Finance and Administration for eligible ARPA administrative and reporting expenses. Total is $600 million. I'm sorry, 600,000.
That's good.
This is to sorry. Total. I got you. Lady, thank you for bringing that to my attention. This has got the wrong short title on it, what I've been given today. This is for the Supreme Court. It's $600,000 for administrative fees. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for that. $600,000 to the State Supreme Court. Okay. If there are no further questions, Mr. Speaker, I move adoption.
I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the report, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 120 yeas, 0 nays, the report's adopted. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I moved item number 3, House Bill 1951. Call that conference report up.
You're recognized to explain the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is also ARPA appropriation in the amount of $30 million to the Department of Health for funding of another round of ARPA Rural Water Association infrastructure. And that's an explanation of the conference report.
Questions on this report?
Move adoption.
He moves adoption. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the report, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 122 yeas, 0 nays, the report's adopted. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to item number 4, House Bill 1952, and call that conference report up.
You're recognized to explain the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the appropriation to the Department of Public Safety for purchase of ARPA-eligible equipment in the amount of $3.5 million. And that's an explanation, Mr. Speaker. I yield for questioning.
Questions on the report? I don't see any, gentlemen.
Move adoption.
He moves adoption of the report. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. In favor of the report, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 122 yeas, 0 nays, the report's adopted. Next item, gentlemen.
Mr. Speaker, if we could move to item number 8. That's going to be Senate Bill 3163, and call that up.
You're recognized to explain the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the conference report on additional appropriation to the Department of Finance Administration out of the ARPA funds. This is for administrative fees and costs moving forward through December of 26, which is the deadline for having all of the money spent in ARPA and the projects completed. And that's an explanation.
Questions on the report? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, is this the bill that has the money for the $17 million for the accounting firm that we've already paid $8 million, and they have audited over $1 billion already? Is that in this bill?
It is, lady.
Is it still the intent of the Appropriations Committee to pay these people $17 million more?
No,
Okay, well,
this is
then,
15 million.
so now they have been given $8 million, and now we're gonna pay them $15 million when they only have to they only working with $400 million left.
Could you repeat your question, please?
Okay. You know, during the committee, we had some testimony that the DFA had a contractual agreement with some accounting firm to audit the ARPA funds. On the first day, and you would agree, gentlemen, because this is something we were excited about, we gave almost $900 million to the water associations and to the municipalities to help them with their water and sewer, right?
In past session, yes, ma'am.
And so this particular, whoever these people are, were responsible for auditing and making sure all of that was right?
Auditing the entire ARPA distribution process. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
But initially, we gave out almost $900 million on that particular program. And gentlemen, the reason why I'm bringing that to your attention is because every dollar that goes to every ARPA program has to be audited. So these people are auditing, but the people who got the money have to audit as well. And that's appropriate, right? We would agree that that's appropriate.
I would agree.
So my question to you is since all of the entities who are receiving ARPA funds are conducting an audit, and many of them, well, some of them are being audited even by this firm, around the barrel, we would say that's the goose and the gander, the fox and the hen house. But if they are auditing, do you think that we should have to spend $15 million more when most of the program has already been audited and we're just going to reappropriate $155 million that's left?
No, ma'am, this is for evaluating the legitimacy of the programs that are submitted to them, that they review and determine whether or not they are eligible for that spending.
Well, okay, gentlemen,
And
now,
we're putting more money into that program, so they're going to have to review more of that money.
but you know, in these bills, we say to these agencies that they are supposed to follow the ARPA guidelines when they are giving out these funds. So we've already given them that direction. The accounting firm, you know, is going to perform, we know, this audit. I guess, gentlemen, all I'm saying to you is, if they've already audited over $1 billion worth of programs and we paid them $8 million, I just don't see how we then turn around and give them $15 million more. I just don't see how that makes sense. Can you just explain to me?
I can't make you understand. I mean, I get your question, but I can't make you understand.
Well, can you make it make sense?
Well, it makes sense to me.
Well, explain it to me how it makes sense to you.
I'm sorry.
Explain to me how this makes sense to you.
They have expenses moving forward over the next 2 years into 26.
But all of this money has already been appropriated and spent.
No.
Well, let's go back to the Water Association, and I'm going to my seat.
Sure.
The Water Association, and a lot of these members said, because, you know, we thought we were going to put $50 million in it, and we wanted to do that. But we've only put $30 million for another round. Well, if all of the money has been expended in the first round, then all of that has been audited, because all that money has been spent, right?
Right. It's not necessarily been spent. It's been obligated to this point.
Okay. All right then, gentlemen. Thank you.
Anytime.
Gentleman from Marshall, he passes. I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move adoption.
He moves adoption of the conference report. Open machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the report, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 108 yeas, 1 nay, the report's adopted. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to item number 9, Senate Bill 3164, and call that conference report up.
You're recognized to explain the report, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is additional appropriation out of the ARPA funds to the DFA for the Bureau of Buildings. This is for management for the purposes of buildings, grounds, and real property management that belongs to the state, and repairs and maintenance. And that's an explanation of it. It is in the amount of $56,500,000.
Questions on the report? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Mr. Chair, thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Speaker. Mr. Chairman, now, these funds are for capital improvements for state buildings
That is
and
correct.
state concerns. There is nothing in this bill, because I thought I read something that said that we were giving DFA the authority that they could make certain decisions on where these dollars could be spent outside of, that's not this bill?
That is not, no ma'am.
That's another bill.
Perhaps.
Okay, Jim. Y'all not slick now. We keeping up with you. Thank you.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move adoption.
He moves adoption of the report. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the report, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 118 yeas, 0 nays, the report's adopted. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to item number 10, that's Senate Bill 3165, and call up that conference report.
You're recognized to explain that report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the appropriation out of ARPA funds to the Mississippi Department of Transportation for surface transportation projects totaling the amount of $50 million, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions on this report? Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, you
Yes, sir.
have MDOT identified those projects in the counties that they're supposed to go in?
They've not identified the projects. They are paving projects, but they have not identified the projects.
All right, thank you.
This is just additional paving money for them. All overlay projects.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move adoption.
He moves adoption. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the report, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 118 yeas, 0 nays, the report is adopted. Next item, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's go back up to item number 5. I recognize the gentleman from Pike, Chair of Appropriation, to explain the conference report.
Gentleman from Pike is recognized to explain the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is item number 5, Senate Bill 2170. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, if you remember last session, we passed $103 million for out of ARPA money to go to our local hospitals. Initially, this House passed the bill with capital expense money, so it would not have to deal with the ARPA situations. As many of you know, ARPA is very complicated, and so this bill appropriates $20.4 million to the hospitals that, for whatever reason, could not qualify under ARPA guidelines. So that's the explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Marshall, Mr. Faulkner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield,
Yes, sir.
do we have a list of hospitals that qualify? with the
Yes, sir.
CBO?
So I have a list of hospitals that have been paid out, and then a list of monies that are going to the hospitals that did not qualify.
Do you have the list available now?
Yes, sir. And I can make you a copy of that list.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, Gentleman Yield,
Yes, sir.
what was the total amount that we gave to the hospital?
$103 million last session.
Have all the hospitals got that
No, sir. So that's why we're here today. It's only been paid out roughly $63 million because many of the hospitals cannot qualify. So we're coming back today and appropriating $20.4 million.
So it's gonna be less now than what it would have been?
Some did not apply, some, yes, sir. So it is less than the $103 million. Yes, sir.
Now, these funds are not ARPA funds that
No,
we
sir. These are
appropriating
going to be
this.
general funds, so they will go right to our hospitals, no criteria. They're not going to have the ARPA guidelines.
And we could have done that in the first place, couldn't we?
Yes, sir. This House passed it out of capital expense money last session that would have not had any ARPA guidelines.
Yes, that's right. We should have done that because that would have saved some of our hospitals, but we didn't do it. Isn't that right?
Well, the House did it, but at the end of the session, we had to make it ARPA funds.
That's right. And we were dragging our feet down here, and while our hospital is closing and our people are suffering, and we think that's okay. And we give them a little change here and there to just keep them afloat, and they still sinking. This is not going to help too many hospitals. This $20 million. You said $20 million?
Yes, sir.
It's not going to do too much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Pike, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, just a
Yes, sir.
request, if you would provide that list to the entire body.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move adoption, Mr.
He moves
Speaker.
adoption of the report. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Favor of the report, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 120 yeas, 0 nays, the report is adopted. Anything further, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, I have one more. If we would go back to item number 7, Senate Bill 3059, recognize the lady from MIT, Vice Chairman of Appropriations, to explain the
Lady from MIT, you're recognized to explain the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, the conference report for Senate Bill 3059 is our deficits. And Section 1 is $320,000 in special funds to the State Board of Dental Examiners. This is for facility inspections and to upgrade the licensing system. It's $5 million in special funds in Section 2 to MDA for the Forestry Facility Grant Program. Section 3 is $3,900,000 in special fund authority to the Mississippi Wireless Communication Commission. This is spending authority for funds that were previously provided in House Bill 603. Section 4 is $57,000 in special fund authority to the Board of Cosmetology for additional operating expenses. Section 5 is $855,218,476 in special fund authority to the Division of Medicaid for spending authority to defray the cost of Medicaid medical services. Section 6 is $719,405 in special fund authority to the Forestry Commission for spending authority to defray the cost of expenses related to the emergency response for the wildfires. Section 7 is $665,094 in capital expense fund authority to the AG's Office for Judgments and Settlements. Section 8 is $3,977,000 in general funds to the Secretary of State to upgrade the STAR system, the campaign finance portal, and the lobbying reporting portal. Section 9 is $2,515,260 in capital expense funds to the Department of Education to defray the cost of the Educable Child Program. Section 10 is $2,772,010 in capital expense funds to the Department of Health to pay the legal expenses incurred for the Jackson water litigation. Section 11 is from and after passage. The total funds in the conference report are $875,144,245. General funds, $3,977,000. Capital expense funds, $5,952,364. And special funds, $865,214,881. And that's an explanation of the conference report, Mr. Speaker.
Questions on the report? Lady from Jones, Ms. Scott.
Lady, would you yield? I
Definitely.
think I missed this. Now, is this what are we doing with Medicaid for $855 million?
So they need spending authority. They're going to distribute this money to the hospitals, and so this money is being...
This is that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any further questions, lady.
I move adoption of the conference report, Mr. Speaker.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the report, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 120 yeas, 0 nays, the report is adopted. Anything further, Mr. Chairman?
Could I get immediate release on those?
Is there objection? Hearing none, we will follow that procedure.
We temporarily yield the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Right, does any chairman have conference reports filed they wish to take up? Come forward, gentleman from Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 75, Senate Bill number 2857, and call up the conference report. On the general bills calendar.
You are recognized to explain a report.
This is the conference report on the Medical Cannabis Act that sets additional provisions related to background checks, department investigation fees, and appeals. This allows the department to perform criminal records background checks on all potential employees, current employees, representatives, agents of the medical cannabis program. It also requires a criminal history background that's provided by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. This is exactly like what we've already passed earlier in the session. And you'll remember that we did go to a monthly limit on cannabis for the patients. Used to be 6 units per week and 24 units per month, and now it's simply 24 units per month. So no change in that. So that's my explanation of the bill. Happy to yield for questions.
Questions on the report. Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, you.
I do.
Were you able to fix the problem that we had a discussion about back here?
This
about
is
the ambiguity of those two.
About what?
The ambiguity of those 2 pieces of legislation. Were you able to fix that?
This is a different bill.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't see any further questions, gentlemen.
Move adoption of the conference report.
He moves adoption of the report. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the report, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 104 yeas, 1 nay, the report's adopted. Gentleman from Union, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up item 15, House Bill 764, and make a motion to recommit, sorry.
All right, item 15, House Bill 764. Gentleman's motion on the conference report is to recommit. If you favor the motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Grenada, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To call up item number 23, House Bill 1088, and the motion is to recommit. We got a little language we got to fix.
Gentleman's motion on item 23, House Bill 1088, on the conference report is to recommit. If you favor the motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Anything further, gentlemen? Any other chairman have a conference report they wish to take up? Local and private have anything? Rules? Chairman of Rules.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 11, SCR 543, and call it up.
You're recognized to explain the resolution.
That's my explanation.
All right? No explanation. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. If you favor the SCR, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 119 yeas, 0 nays, the SCR is adopted. Anything further, Mr. Chair?
Yes, I'd like to call a few up in block. Go to item number 4, HR 96, item number 5, HR 143, item 6, HR 135, item 7, HR 142, item 8, HR 144, item 9, HR 145, and last to go to item 10, HR 146, and call those up.
Is there objection to calling these up in block? Items 4 through 10, they're all House resolutions. Page 14 of your calendar. Hearing no objection, gentlemen, we will follow that procedure.
Yeah, move final passage.
He moves adoption of the resolutions. If you favor the resolutions, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Anything further, Mr. Chairman?
Yield.
He yields the floor. We're going to recess subject to call. I think Mr. Clerk has an announcement. Some members may have an announcement.
I'd like to remind you that by May 1st, and today is April 28th, you need to file your statement of economic interest with the Ethics Commission, and you can find that form on their website. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Gentleman from Jones, Mr. Scoggin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Based on in light of the things that happened last night and the appropriations dead, can you give us any kind of speculation of what this next week looks like for us, and if we're going to leave this week?
Oh, we're going to leave one way or another. Gentlemen, we'll know later today how that's going to play out. We're going to recess for about an hour and see if there's a path forward, and I'll update the body when we come back in as to our hopeful path forward. Gentleman from Jackson, Mr. Zuber.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a reminder to the members of the House, the Qualified Resort Conference Report has been filed. It's House Bill 776, item number 1. We have had a large number of qualified resort requests. Please double check that conference report and make sure your request is included.
You saying it's last call for alcohol, gentlemen?
Last call for alcohol.
That's awful. The first text I got this morning right after daylight was from the gentleman from Jackson. He was touring Jackson, riding around, and he kept sending me pictures from different places all around the capital city, seeing if I knew where he was from just the zoomed in shot. The last one I got was from the little locomotive train at the Jackson Zoo, so whoever's letting him in all these places, I have no idea. He's got connections somewhere. I hope none of y'all were with him. He's not answering back there. All right, I'll entertain a motion from the gentleman from Rankin. We're going to recess subject to call, probably come back about 2:30. Gentleman from Rankin.
I move that the House stand in recess subject to call.
Gentleman's motion is the House stand in recess subject to call of the chair. All in favor say aye. Opposed no. The ayes have it. House stand in recess subject to call. Let the House come back to order. I believe we are at a point in the day where this will suspend our work, certainly on the floor. Before we adjourn for the day, just by way of a roadmap over the next few days, it looks like maybe we've reached some consensus with the Senate to move forward with our budgets. So we probably will have a rule suspension as early as tomorrow, so that we will be able to take up the conference reports on revenue and appropriations bills. That of course died last night. So I don't know if that resolution will also include extending the session on paper. I don't know if we're ready to make that call yet. I know we'll have to do that, but I'm not sure about timing for that. So we'll figure that out. Hopefully can do it all in one resolution, an HCR, either tomorrow or Tuesday. So we will do that. In addition to that, I would simply say, several of you have asked me where we are on Medicaid. Conferees have met. They've met again today, and I believe the lady from Forrest was maybe going back down there just now. So that's another one that's out there. This rule suspension won't figure into that. It will be subject to the normal deadlines. It's a general bill, it does have a 3/5 feature. So that report will probably be filed tomorrow or Tuesday at the latest. We'll see where we are on that. But by way of the week, I would expect we would certainly be here at least until Friday, and we might even be here Saturday and or next Sunday. So that's where we are for your planning purposes for the coming week. If they got every budget hammered out tonight, it would take our budget attorneys, our budget writers, as well as drafting, a couple of days to get those printed and in order. I wanted you to have a day to review them, and then we would start voting on them, and that would probably take a day or two. So that's why we could be here as late as Friday and or Saturday. Any announcements by the members? Gentleman from Marion, Mr. Morgan.
What in the world do we need to do to alleviate a lot of this problem? I mean, do we need to move the deadline forward, or all this goofing off that we do whenever we first come up here for a couple of months?
Gentlemen, you know my stance on all of that.
When you go to living out of a suitcase and you're 120 miles from the house, it's a whole lot different than it is people that live 15, 20 minutes from here.
I agree with you, gentlemen. I think that's why you saw bills die last night. Gentleman from Jackson, Mr. Zuber.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Motion, if I may.
Yes, sir. State your motion.
I'd like to go to the motion to reconsider calendar, item number 2, Senate Bill 3231, and move to table.
Gentleman's motion is to table. Those opposed have 5 minutes. Several of you already had your buttons pushed seeking recognition. Raise your hand if you wish to speak to the gentleman's motion to table. That is the PERS legislation we passed yesterday, I believe. Isn't that number, gentlemen? All right. Gentleman's motion is to table the motion to reconsider. If you favor that motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parliamentary inquiry.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since we're going to be dilly-dallying around here for the next couple of days, can the dress code remain relaxed? Since we dilly-dallying and waiting on other folks to stop dillying.
How about we agree to relax it tomorrow and see where we get after tomorrow?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We'll relax it at least for one more day. I anticipate we will come in at 10 in the morning. Gentleman from Oktibbeha, Mr. Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is an adjourn in memory. Mississippi football coach Bob Tyler passed away last night. He was living in Water Valley. I just wanted the membership to know.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will do that. Gentleman from Bolivar, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I asked the body today if they will adjourn a member with me, Mr. James Denson, who's the former mayor of Rolling Fork, Mississippi. He's also a Mississippi Valley State Hall of Famer. And we ask that we adjourn the member today on his behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will do that. Any further announcements from any member? I recognize the gentleman from Adams, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like everybody to know that this is my relaxed dress code. I just want to make sure you understand that.
We would expect nothing less, gentlemen, from you. Sharpest dressed man of the Capitol. All right, gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Shanks.
First, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to call a quick rules meeting immediately after adjournment.
Rules meeting immediately after adjournment.
Okay, I move that the House stand in recess until after the last conference report has been filed, at which time the Journal will reflect that the House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Gentleman's motion is that the House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow, with the Journals open tonight to the last conference report is filed. If you favor that motion, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow.